Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to International Affairs Broadcasting from the Dhaka's Gulshan studio. I'm, of course, Shamsul Alam Pantho, your host for the program today. And let me introduce my panelists before we can begin the discussions. There are very important updates from around the world. We know that the Epstein files has released the final collection of files from the Department of Justice in the United States, and it has mentioned a lot of international players. But before I do so, let me introduce my panelists. In the studio, we have Mr. Ali Ahmed. Of course, he is the former member customs of the National Board of Revenue. I welcome him onto the program. A very warm welcome to you, sir, as well as our geopolitical correspondent, Norman Floyd Barnes, who shall be joining us from Washington, D.C. There is some interesting news coming out of the Middle East as well. I want to give a briefing before I go on with Ali Ahmed. The Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza has been reopened as a part of the pilot operation after 2 years of closure, according to various Israeli media. Of course, it is reported that the daily movement will require 150 people to be expected to leave the Gaza Strip daily, compared to about 50 who will return back to it. So this is the latest that I have regarding this issue. I want to come with Mr. Ali Ahmed. As I was reading the news, this is a very important time. 2 years ago, if not a year back, we've seen how the aid delivery mechanism into this destroyed or devastated lands of Gaza, we've seen how the IDF had closed this entry, and it was stationed right before the month of Ramadan. This time, however, anticipating the arrival of the month of Ramadan, this aid crossing has been reopened. What is your observation?
This is good as far as it goes, but the problem is about this relief works and other medical treatments, that Médecins Sans Borders, MSP, has been banned because they gave certain conditions and they didn't agree. So this is a very important and a great organization which has been doing relief works in different types in all around the world, especially in Gaza before the closure by the Israelis. This time they were to be allowed, but they put certain conditions and they didn't agree. So they will be going out of it and will not be there. So that is one of the limitations. Otherwise it sounds good, but then allowing 50 persons to go in and 50 to come in, go out and come in, this is good enough to start with. But if there is 51, there is 52. So this sort of specific numbers is not a very good thing. Could have said down. So let us see how it turns out. I believe this may be good, but it's good again that they have said those who went out of Gaza during the war will be allowed to come in. But there are many Gazan people living in surrounding areas and elsewhere. They should also be allowed to come their own home, their home country. So that is one limitation that Israel has put in place before it. But then this is not Israel's country, they are now occupying it. The peacemakers, the so-called peacemakers, who will be looking after the implementation of the Gaza peace plan by Donald Trump, should also look into these things. And after that, there was a serious crash, bombing and other attacks, about killing about a large number of people, 32 or something.
Right.
That is also very unfortunate. Unfortunately, all these killings are nobody other than in the third world countries, nobody ever raises a finger and say that this is illegal, this is abnormal, immoral and punishable. Nobody ever says that. So Israelis go free with all these unauthorized killings. That is unfortunate thing. But again, with the limited reopening the Rafah border, with limited numbers of people allowing to go out and to come in, the equal number is good. It's, as they say, nothing is better than something is better than nothing.
Of course.
So that's it.
This is one of perhaps one of the better developments that we have seen regarding this segment of the news, or this segment of the international worldwide issues.
Yes.
And I want to add on to some more of the details and get Norman Floyd Barnes' opinion on this. Israeli side had banned the activities of the medical charity Doctors Without Borders, MSF, in the Gaza Strip, and ordered the organization to leave the enclave by February 28th. So this is another one of the updates that is on the negative side of diplomacy and of geopolitics. as we see thousands of sick and wounded Palestinians are eagerly waiting to leave this enclave for urgent medical care abroad. Of course, Israel has opened the Rafah border with Egypt for limited transfers. I want to have a comment from our geopolitical correspondent in Washington, D.C., Ambassador Norman Floyd Barnes.
Greetings, everyone from Washington, D.C. The Rafah border is a very good thing. Like our colleague just stated, something is better than nothing. But it's still an issue that the amount of control Israel still want to instill on this very important passage in and out the country. We have a humanitarian crisis going on, and they still want to control the flow, the drip, how much, how little, when and where, and basically try to manage this situation. In the process of managing it, they are causing more problems. I mean, when you provide teaspoons of assistance instead of what is known, you create a new problem. Dealing with aid, humanitarian, health, and welfare issues, we should not be complicit. We should not be controlling. We should be engaging in this. There should be a massive flow of aid, take advantage of this situation. 50% is a start, but it's not a finish. So my concern is that this flow may, as we open up, it may close up again and back and forth. So with that going on, there will never be a solution. That will never bring the right amount of care. It just exacerbates the problem. It's just putting a sprinkle, like someone going to the ocean and someone take the water and sprinkle some water on you. Yes, I felt the water, but I've still not, my thirst is still there, and it can basically lead to more problems unless we take this thing serious.
Of course, important updates regarding this matter. Of course, even after a year after Hezbollah ceasefire, over 64,000 Lebanese has been displaced. That is another metric coming out of the Middle East. I wanted to understand what is their war plan or the end game regarding Gaza, regarding Lebanon to the north. And of course, we must understand the fact that human life at the end of the day is being to the extent that it's being wasted in a place like the Middle East. I want to have this following question with Mr. Ali Ahmed. Given the humanistic value of human life, 80,000 deaths, and then we have 500,000 people who have been injured, and even more, countless more who has been displaced. Their homes have been burnt down, have been destroyed by missile bombardment. And of course, even in the West Bank, we see community violence coming from the Israelis and the Israeli side. In your observation, what is the future plan? We know that this 20-point peace plan and Donald Trump's Board of Peace has more actors outside of the Middle East than of the Middle East and the Arab nations. What is the future? Will Gaza become a megacity?
Gaza, no, they are
maybe
trying,
not in the recent times, of course.
As Donald Trump has been saying at from the beginning, the way his son-in-law, who has been also inducted in everything, including this Board of Peace, has a draft plan, and it was unveiled. The plan shows a riverside cruise and other facilities, hotel, 5-star hotels and other things, and good hotel facilities, etc. So his the French Riviera type Riviera, as Donald Trump foresaw, they are planning it. But I think the whole world nowadays, whether they are going to allow it or not, is something very bad. But then when America does something, the rest of the world remains silent. The poorer nations, because they cannot do anything, and the other nations than the US, because they are either friendly or feel a little irritated, but finally doesn't say anything. So I do not know what is going to be the future of now ravished Gaza, but it should rightfully go to the Gazans, and it should be rebuilt at the cost of those who have destroyed it. The rich countries of the world are equally complicit in the destruction by supplying their machines, loans, some war material and everything. So they should rebuild the whole place, including some Arab countries, of course, and then the Gazans should be there. Nothing else will, even if they do, in the long run, the Donald's plan cannot be made permanent there in any way.
Of course.
People in the world doesn't accept that.
The statehood of the righthood of
Yeah.
the Palestinians inside their own land is a very big issue, and that
Yes,
that
for
was the format.
generations, long before the coming of these Jews there, the Israel, forming the state of Israel, the Gazans, the Palestinians were there. Gaza is a part of Palestine. So and they will be up there for thousands of years. These people have been there, and they will be uprooted, killed, and the remaining uprooted. And Donald Trump will come with his Rivera type of plan and others. This is acceptable, not acceptable at all.
Of course, a very important rhetoric and very important time to understand what the entire world sees regarding the Middle East. Of course, one cannot, of course, condone. This has been the only issue of a mass killing, a mass genocide in the last 26 or so years. But it is time to change the rhetoric, and I want to bring up something that is very close to heart with Norman Floyd Burns. I know that you have experience on Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates. There is an interesting news, let me recite it for you. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is saying that a new Russia-US-Ukraine meeting shall take place in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates on February 4th and February 5th.
The next round.
Of course, and this would be the next round, totaling up to the third time this is happening. And of course, in a statement on Telegram, Zelensky had noted that the information came from the Ukrainian negotiating team that was set to hold talks with the Russian team this Sunday. So, very important factor that once again focus on the Middle East, but this time around in the United Arab Emirates, they're talking and discussing about the terms regarding Ukraine and Russia. The entire world has moved away, even though the war continues between the two sides. There is simple territory dispute has taken the role and taken the shape of an internationally affecting, whichever way you call it, the entire world economy. I want an observation from Norman Floyd Burns, given that you are very close with UAE in your own personal work time. Norman Floyd Burns.
Yes, thank you for that question. The setting in Abu Dhabi is one that is very positive towards this conflict, ending this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The reason is that the players and the countries in the Middle East has a vested interest in getting Ukraine back up to where it need to be. Meaning Ukraine was one time, actually it still is the breadbasket for the world. So the concept of working with Ukraine and Russia is beneficial for both. Russia needs, they need trade and commerce. They need to get agriculture. Ukraine has been devastated. The people are sick and tired. The people are dying. And they have a prime location for agriculture and growth, development. So hopefully this second round will have some breakthrough. There will be some incentives put in by the countries of the region to get this thing going so we can get back to a more normal, more stable life. The issue is trade and commerce. They need Ukraine to be a participant in the world order. They provide a lot of stuff, a lot of food and grain to the region. So I expect there will be some type of revelation comes out of this, some type of agreement so we can get back to normal. This war has gone on too long, to no avail. Russia has ideas about they want certain parts of the land. Ukraine basically wants to survive. They want to be a participant. They want their people to basically have food and water and get back into the normal stream. And the Middle East utilizes these resources from the area. So I'm praying that there be some type of level-headed conversations to talk about how we can coexist, not resist, and get back to the world order and come to some terms that allow the people in Ukraine feel secure and also gives Russia some type of, I guess, pride that they have accomplished stuff but not lose. And at the same time, both countries will benefit from type of this situation. They can get back to the world order, and we can now have one less conflict in the region, one less conflict in the region, and hopefully that will incentivize Putin to basically, hey, let's look at the big picture. This situation in Ukraine has started other things, but is not the big picture. So let's pray, cross our fingers that we move to the next level.
Of course, a very important discussion topic today. We often touch the topic of Ukraine-Russia war, but the updates and the answers and the analysis keep on pointing at one direction, and how the underdog remains Ukraine, even while having the entire support of the EU. And Russia on the other side is playing this tactic over this last winter season by attacking the energy infrastructure of Ukraine, crippling the nation. Of course, living without heating systems during this cold wave could be very important, very affecting the citizens who live inside Ukraine, common Ukrainians. And there are some updates that I would want to share before coming to Ali Ahmed. We know that the Russian forces has reportedly struck a dormitory holding Russian civilians in Sudzhakarsk Oblast on February 1st, which was yesterday. Russian authorities widely attempted to deny Russian responsibility for the strike and blame Ukraine. So, in this, what I have just read, the Russian forces have attacked their own dormitory, not understanding the fact that they were their own citizens. And of course, this entire negligence continues. And this is some of those events that happens when you have a massive spread of war. And of course, Russia continues its effort to illegally deport Ukrainian children to occupied Crimea and Russia under the guise of evacuation and rehabilitation programs. This is, of course, on the eastern flank of Ukraine, having huge immigration concerns and concerns for the livelihoods of children or Ukrainian children. Your observation and what is your takeaway? The fighting hasn't stopped, but yet they're still set to meet in Abu Dhabi.
Fighting has not stopped. It has come to a periodic stoppage, because Donald Trump has requested that during this severe cold season, smashing this infrastructure is causing severe problems to the people, and so for 7 days the Putin has agreed to stop it for 7 days. So this is a hiatus, it's short wait for it. So, but that is coming again unless there is an end to it, and I am not very optimistic about the end coming very soon, although they said they will be having meeting on 4th and 5th in Abu Dhabi and all that. But I only wish something can be done about it to stop this fighting, this war, this devastating war. And then again, I think let them Zelensky is doing well, because he cannot call a closure of the discussion. That he has nothing, he is left with nothing. So he keeps his hope alive, hoping that others will come. The European allies, I should say, they are giving some armaments and all those things, but nobody is coming to fight for them.
Right.
I am aware that Russia is getting soldiers from many sources.
Of
Even
course.
they have in Africa, Asia also, they have their agents and alluring people to go to their country. They think they are going for work, and after going to Russia, they are sent to the war front. That is how all these countries, I should not name, are sending. And I talked about the Kenyans the last time.
Right.
So this way they are getting, but still the casualty on the Russian side has been severe, and it's very difficult for them to continue with manpower. So they are going more for drones and missiles and all those things.
Of course.
That is it.
I really enjoy your observations regarding the various war fronts, the economic fallout that usually follows after a war is conducted. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the very first half, but production has assisted me to go for a short commercial break. But after the break, there is such more important updates regarding the Epstein files, as well as Pakistan news that coming out of Pakistan of violence. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay with us on International Affairs.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900। বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms.
Welcoming all our viewers back on International Affairs. We are joined today by Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio, while we have Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C. I want to begin the next segment with Norman Floyd Barnes, a name that is heard about almost all throughout social media this week, as the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, has released over 3 million pages of documents along with 2,000 plus videos and 180,000 images connected to the long-running investigations into Epstein's crimes. Of course, we are talking about Jeffrey Epstein, who is now being referred to as one of those people who has exposed the entire world, in my opinion. I want to begin with Norman Floyd Barnes. We see Prince Andrew is being implicated.
No longer a prince.
The longer prince, yes. And not only him, we see Bill Clinton being implicated in some level, as well as Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and many influential figures from around the globe. I want to understand what is the feeling in America, especially the fact that the people and the U.S. administration do not meet eye to eye on various issues. We have ICE and immigration issues that coming out over the last month, as well as the final release from the DOJ. What is your observation, and how do you think people are going to accept Donald Trump? Even he was implicated in these files to a certain degree. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, acceptance. It's more of tolerance. We're in a situation of being tolerated. Unfortunately, the world is witnessing and finally understanding, hopefully, that our power brokers, our people influence, our so-called leaders, both elected and selected leaders, have issues with humanity, dealing with people. The abuse of women, small children, young children, kids, anyone, by the powerful people we supposedly look up to, people influence, impact, who has all the means in the world, is something that is not looked upon and tolerated by the human, particularly in the United States and other parts of the world. Right. It's just not acceptable. So So we are now witnessing is that our so-called leaders are human, very human. They have weaknesses, and their weaknesses is that they have these lavish sexual tastes and I don't know how to describe it. Is that they have issues, and these issues are influenced by power, and with the power and entertainment, they call it entertainment. That's the word, entertainment. They are now creating a situation where the public mistrusts. There's a big mistrust of our so-called leaders and people of impact. They are no longer trusted by by the people, and it will, if in the situation of elections, it will affect that. Our leader, President Trump, unfortunately, is one of these people involved in this lifestyle. These lifestyle issues will affect, in some cases, their longevity and how people are going to remember you and how people are going to respect you. So hopefully, we get to the bottom of this. I doubt it. This is a very deep situation. It involves a lot of different people, a lot more people involved on that list, a lot more people participating, and people are still participating in these type of unethical behaviors. That is one of the things people are seeing, that if you're rich, you have money, you can do things, even though they are evil and against all things we have. So now the situation is now, do we continue to look up to these people, or do we put these people in a place where they should be instead of where they're currently occupied, and they have a total disregard for humans? So it's evaluation time. How do we look upon our leaders, and how much trust and how much power we should give them? Because this is not going away. The Epstein side is just opening up a real issue we have, that the powerful people have their issues, and these issues take advantage of people. And taking advantage of people, children, women, kids, is something I don't think many people I know can accept. So let's see how this thing plays out. But right now, is a big trust issue with people who we call powerful people. They are powerful, but they also appear to be very, very weak.
Of course, a very lovely observation regarding this latest Epstein issue. However, it does not ignore the fact that billionaires, tycoons, politicians, princes, and of course leaders of various individual states, some even in Bangladesh, our Prime Minister was also implicated in this latest communication, and the communication is the main file that is linking up all the people who were involved in this recent issue regarding Jeffrey Epstein. However, it is a step into the mind of the corrupt and evil. Some of the leaders that weren't included or does not have any kind of involvement inside Jeffrey Epstein's scandal, or all of this, or no one has been implied that they have been involved, include Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Russia's Vladimir Putin, China's Xi Jinping, and of course North Korea's Kim Jong-un. These leaders do not appear in Jeffrey Epstein's case. However, I was talking about this very issue with Ali Ahmed during our break, and he said that these were things that he wanted to talk about. I want to understand how you felt. These leaders that I was just mentioning, they are against the access of the United States of America on various fronts. There are updates regarding Iran. I will get there eventually, but I want to know regarding Epstein. It shows into the mind of the corrupt and evil. Those in the charge of leading the people are seeing the world in this kind of view.
Yes, except for some of these leaders that you talked about, who are supposed to be avowedly religious or doctrinaire and having no access to the United States. That is why many of them would not be or could not be a party to it. The problem with humans is that we all have a darker side and a brighter side. When an opportunity is offered, the darker side in many of us gets the upper hand and indulges in things like what they have done. and these kings and princes and presidents and MPs and ministers, these people having power and having access, they often think that the whole world is there, I am here, nobody will know. But when they are photographed and it is later shown, they do not feel much ashamed of it. I am afraid. So they do it. The thing is, this sort of opportunities should not be offered, and people like Epstein should not have been allowed such a long rope to go that long, and as they say in the English phrase, and to hang himself with. Now he has hanged himself with this. So the law and order situation should also be better. But then the most important thing is the person's conscience. We have all evil instincts, we all have. But we should have a good conscience and should know where we should indulge in the bad things and where we should not. That is what education means. Most of all, moral education, not the other education. So that is very important. Otherwise, it will continue to get repeated over and over and over again.
Unless we learn from the mistakes of the past, we cannot.
As they say, one famous history, the lesson we learn from history is that we really learn nothing from it.
Because it continues to repeat over and over again.
We always think that this will go undetected, but it doesn't finally.
Brilliant observation from Mr. Ali Ahmed in the studio. There is some updates regarding Iran. As we know, there has been the U.S. military positions in the Persian Gulf, and according to the news, U.S. President Donald Trump responded to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei after he warned that a U.S. strike on Iran would trigger a regional war. In the comment, he said, Donald Trump, I quote, "We have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close," he said, adding, "Hopefully, we'll make a deal." This is a different kind of deal. Last I checked, that when a deal was on the table, the two sides negotiated in and for the both parties, for the two intentions to come in one dialogue and discussion. Into 2026, we see one is holding the gun while the other is saying that do not point it at me, I will shoot back if you do. So I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes, latest updates regarding Iran. Over the weekend, last weekend, we've seen explosions in Bandar Abbas and other parts of the city inside Iran. Of course, not the Israeli side nor the US side took responsibility. It was a gas explosion, but it was good enough to send a shockwave of fear to the common citizens. And according to various news agencies across the globe, we also understand that the death toll, there has been a list that has been released from the Iranian side of almost 2,900 deaths in connection to the protesting and the violence that took place for over 3 weeks earlier last month. Your observation into the Middle East as troops are moving away from the US bases, American power in the Middle East, and how they plan on using it. You use taxpayer money, you use millions of dollars for moving the Abraham Lincoln from the Pacific into the Middle East, yet to come to a deal with Iran. I don't understand why. If not, is there any kind of military escalation, intervention coming up in the recent days? I want an observation from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Thank you for that question. In your own words, it doesn't make sense. You have this massive military buildup in a region, and you want to go to the table and talk about how we're going to divide up the checkers and the dominoes. It's not going to work. It's not planned. There's a reason for the military being staged in the area. There's a reason for these abnormal situation, gas explosion, it leaks. There's a reason why the people are being killed in Iran. There's a reason why they having backdoor channels and conversations about how this thing going on. There's a plan. There's something has to be done, and they are talking about what are we going to present to the world on how we're going to resolve this thing. Do we have a surgical strike? Do we have a regime change? Or do we have a situation where we remove all the head people in the country and let the country go in chaos and then another problem starts up? What is the solution? What is going on? There's a plan. There has to be something come out of this. I do not think it's going to be a handshake and a walk away, and we go back to our normal parts of the world thing going on. Too much has
Right.
happened. There has to be some outcome, and it will not be accepted by the people. We're looking at you say a regional war. It may be worse than that. We don't know, but the parties are now talking about what can be done to basically save face. At the same time, show the world that we are still powerful. As the United States, we can do things, and Iran can show the world that we are resisting, and we are not going to uh, stop doing what we're doing because of a Trump administration and the rest of the world is basically trying to tell us what to do. It's not going to happen. Even if there is an attack, there has to be a power shift that goes on. There has to be because there's going to a big vacuum. If you take something out, something else will take its place. The issue is what will that be? It could be worse, definitely not better, but without that, the outcome you want, if you want to go in and shake up the situation in that region, you can do it. But the problem is that it's going to have long-lasting effects on
Of
what you
course.
do, and it could create a situation where your country and your colleagues are going to be in harm's way for a long period of time. So it has to be very well thought about what's going on. They has to almost have a strategical uh, blueprint, a map that is engineered to create less harm and less peace and impact on what's going on. But the president is now consulting with Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the players of the region. And right now, he's don't have the answers he needs to proceed with a military attack right now. But he knows something has to be done because the big question is, what is Iran response, meaning Iran? Who is behind Iran? Who is backing Iran? We know who they are.
Right.
And what would their response be? Are we dealing with another proxy war, or are we looking at a bait and switch type of situation? I don't think going into Iran, you're going to come out the way you go in. I don't believe that. It's not going to be easy going in and making a surgical strike and whatever. Our Congress here is not going to allow our president to get into another Vietnam War, another major confrontation. So right now, the military option is one of with something within a 12-day period. A, but they need to know if they do that, what is going to close the gap and stop the conflict and provide stability to the area. Going in and taking something out that causes another problem is not beneficial to anyone. So it serves no purpose to go in and blow up the country. It's not going to happen because you're basically blowing up yourself. You're creating more problems. What's going
Absolutely.
on? So right
Absolutely.
now we're in a situation, wait and see exactly what are the options. The back channel is very busy right now talking about how we can avoid a conflict and at the same time be effective and have impact.
Of course, very lovely observations from Norman Floyd Burns. I have a last question once more due to time restrictions with Norman Floyd Burns before I focus on the studio.
Mhm.
The Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has signed an executive order instructing city police to probe and document alleged misconduct by the U.S. federal immigration officers for potential prosecution. On the other side, French IT giant Capgemini announced that it will sell its subsidiary providing services to the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement ICE agency, according to the French broadcaster. Any latest updates regarding the ICE situation inside America or any kind of updates on your closing statement? Norman Floyd Burns.
Unfortunately, right now, the United States is in a partial shutdown, a freeze. They have funds for the next, I believe, 8 days. Right now, the issue is ICE. Department of Homeland Security has to be totally restructured. Congress, both the Republicans and the Democrats, are demanding that the president, they have to do something. This has gone too far to the point that we are going to have to hold off funding and to the point of shutting down the government until this situation is addressed. The people are not tolerating this. They are not going to tolerate a type of insurrection by a group of federal law enforcement officers in the attempt in this situation, immigration, then what? What's next after immigration? There's certain journalists been detained, as you
Don
know,
Lemon.
we talked about been in the news,
Right.
and that is causing another problem: freedom of speech. Now we're talking about the freedom of the bear arms. All these issues are now coming to the table, and the federal government is looking at this as an opportunity to gain more control of the situation. But by putting the pressure on and doing these things, you're creating a problem
Right.
for the government and then how the United States is going to move forward.
Right.
So right now, we are in a situation of transition and control. And the best way to do it right now is basically control the money in the budget. So the budget is all out of whack. We're supposed to have a balanced budget by now. We don't. It looked like we're going to have continuation deals will be done until
Right.
September, and could be partial shutdowns of people performing their duties while we figure out this hot mess, what's going on, how we going to deal with each other, how we going to do things,
Right.
and at the same time, freedom of speech. The people are not tolerant.
Of course, as Norman was saying, that people will not tolerate this for the long term. I must thank Norman Floyd Barnes, as he has been disconnected because of Zoom limitations, but very excellent discussion regarding the U.S. position, not only on Iran, but on its internal policies. As we must head for a break, but after the break, there is a huge debate coming up with me and Ali Ahmed in the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned.
Sophisticated fine dining restaurant, crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation, modern gym and serene spa for well-being, perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured, elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. Elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents. Play pool and snooker in international standard billiard zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last segment of International Affairs. We've had Norman Floyd Barnes, who had joined us on Zoom regarding various issues, and now we are inside the studio with Ali Ahmed, and we have a very important issue to discuss. Of course, it has an impact on Bangladesh. A couple of days ago, we've seen the European Union, the EU, and India, our neighbor, announcing a deal which was long awaited, and it is a free trade agreement nearly after 2 decades of negotiations. The leaders on the both sides had described this as a mother of all trade deals due to its size and potential impact. But marginalized communities, marginalized countries left out of this deal. When we talk about our hemisphere, we cannot include or we cannot forget the fact that it's not just one country out there, India, it is also Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and as well as Bangladesh, Myanmar, and all of these nations in a joint purpose. So I want to ask Mr. Ali Ahmed, senior economist of the country, what is your observation and how this free trade agreement shall impact Bangladesh and the surrounding neighbors India has?
Well, as you know, after the Second World War, there were discussions among the allies, America, UK, France, all those countries. Germany was then a defeated country, or Japan was a defeated country, so they were not included. Russia was in the winners. So they finally hammered out the United Nations, UN, and with this the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank. At the same time, there was a negotiation by another group of these countries. They wanted to form an international trade organization, but that could not be formed because of American intransigence. They had to leave it there. But later, there was a general agreement on tariffs and trade, which is called GATT, and the trade internationally was going on under the GATT agreement. But later the discussion was going on, and America took the lead, and almost all the countries of the world were in that discussion. Finally, on 1st of January 1995, they came out with an agreement and a contract that was the World Trade Organization with its rules, totally rules-based trade internationally. The basic principles of this WTO, World Trade Organization, was that if you reduce or enhance duty on one country, it will be equally applicable to all the other member countries. This is called the MFN, most favored nation. And the other was once a country sends its goods to your country after payment of whatever duty is there, once it comes inside the country, it will be getting what is called a country treatment, as if this is your product, free movement like all other goods. So that was the basic principle. Donald Trump violated this because he enhanced it somewhere, reduced it elsewhere. He has no authority under this international rule, nor of course under the US rules. That is another thing. So this was going on, this WTO. When Donald Trump came up with this huge tariff, that is duties,
Right.
100, 200, up to 500, as is suitable to him, 50% or whatever, this was a great breach. So what does FTA means now that this FTA has been raised, free trade agreement between EU and India? It means that these two are the contracting parties.
Right.
Between them, except with some small exceptions of certain goods, like atomic bomb for example, this is not exportable. All other goods will be exportable freely without any duty, etc. between these two countries. What it means, supposing duty in India or duty in the EU areas was say 10%. Now after this agreement is reached, it will enter India or vice versa, India's goods to the EU countries without payment of duty. So
Free
it
of
means that
duty.
they have a 10% value advantage. Their price would go down by 10% in both the countries. What does it mean? Previously, if Spain is a EU country, if Bangladesh would be exporting to India, then it gets a 10% disadvantage. So it means that there would be a trade creation between these two countries, these two areas, the European Union and India. This is trade creation, new trade is created by this, but there is trade diversion. If Bangladesh will be exporting and is now disadvantaged because of this tariff wall of 10%, so there would be trade diversion. The Indians would be importing from EU, EU would be importing from India, and Bangladesh had to look elsewhere with this higher rate. So this creates disadvantage for those who are left out of this agreement, and advantage for the people of these two countries. So that is a great advantage between these two countries. So what will happen? Bangladesh will face a higher duty compared to India, and also Vietnam reached this agreement, this free trade agreement. So Bangladesh's garments is the most important thing.
Right.
According to from Indian, Vietnamese and other countries' garments will face stiff competition, means disadvantage of 10% or whatever.
Right.
So although there is a saving clause, the EU declared that this 26 is the year when Bangladesh is going to graduate into a developing country. After that, this normal duty would be applicable. But European Union beforehand declared that even after graduation, Bangladesh should be getting for another 3 years this duty-free status. But what happens after 29? You see, India has reached this agreement after 20 years, 2 decades of discussions, and we have not opened this discussion yet. So what will happen to us in 2029 with not only garments, the most important our exports, what about the other goods? I am sure the people sitting in the secretariat, they know these things, but there are certain preconditions for entering this agreement, internal financial and political stability
must be ensured,
that we lack. So we must achieve those very quickly and start these negotiations with European Union. Before this 3 years grace period goes away.
No, a large number of EU people are here to observe the coming elections as well. So they do have some kind of
and
relationship.
this is not only EU, many countries are like this. So we will be nowhere. The people in the ministries, finance ministry or especially the commerce ministry, they know it. But they cannot do anything now, and they are only fighting for who steals money and who builds a house and who takes money out of the country. They do not think of what is coming to this state. So this is coming with the European Union and India's free trade. This is already within Vietnam.
Right.
They have many This is the thing that the people, the authorities must take good care of.
Of course.
They are aware of it. So this in very short what I have got to say. Trade creation and trade diversion. There will be created new trade between the countries with having agreements, and other trade will be diverted. We will not be able to compete with them. Others won't be able to compete with them. Think of the economic situation, the trade situation in the world. So people must take care of this.
Of course, and I must thank you, sir, Mr. Ali Ahmed, for defining this trade agreement between the two sides and how it's going to affect Bangladesh in the coming days.
Bangladesh and other countries not having this.
Of course, I mentioned some of these countries that are surrounding our neighborhood. It is important to understand for our viewers as well, to understand what the future holds. I must thank for the valuable insights and contributions on this program from Mr. Ali Ahmed, as well as our geopolitical correspondent Norman Floyd Barnes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to end the program today on a different note. Usually I talk about the history or why this day is important, but there is a breaking news as the Pakistani military forces kill 145 fighters in the Balochistan province after deadly attacks which began yesterday. Do stay tuned more on this program as I head off to the closing. Ladies and gentlemen, that was it for today. I shall see you all with interesting updates on tomorrow's program.